Hello and welcome to my first YouTube recording of a flight on X-Plane and Pilotedge. We are in sunny Palm Springs, California, and I was actually here in real life just a few weeks ago doing the same exact flight. I got a lot of questions about it, especially after I posted some videos of it on social media. And of course, it's hard to post on social media while you're flying an actual airplane, but it's a lot easier to do that when you are flying a simulated airplane in a simulator. So without further ado, I want to jump into the cockpit here and show you what it's like to fly from Palm Springs to San Diego in this Cessna 172. So let's jump inside. So we're inside of the cockpit here. Today I will be using Pilotedge, which is a sort of a pseudo air traffic controller. It's actually real people who kind of man real tower, well, not real towers, but simulated towers, and provide you with a very realistic air traffic control experience. So pretty excited to be using them today to fly to San Diego. So the first thing we're going to do is start up the engine. All right, so throw the beacon on there. I'm not going to dive into a whole lot of details on why I'm doing what I'm doing. Maybe I'll make another video in the future and cover some basics, but there are actually plenty of videos out there already that kind of explain this already. So you could check those out, or maybe just stick around on my channel. I might make one myself. So we're going to turn on the master here. I'm going to pretend I did a thorough pre-flight check. Normally I go outside and check every little thing on the plane before I even get into the cockpit here. But we will say that we have done a simulated pre-flight check before we jumped in here. So we will turn the fuel pump on, get that mixture rich so that we get some good fuel flow to the engine there. That's pretty good right there. Pull that mixture back. And we're going to clear prop and start the engine. Get to about 1,000, just under 1,000 RPM there. Very good. We'll turn on some lights here. I'm not sure I'll turn on a taxi light. Go on the avionics. Go on standby here. Warm that sucker up. Okay. So, the first thing we're going to do is tune to ATIS. Got my frequencies written down here on a cheat sheet. ATIS is at 118.25. So let's tune to 118.25. And see what it's got. You may barely be able to hear it. This weather here is customized weather. We're not using real weather. Real weather would probably be clear skies and very windy here in Palm Springs. Palm Springs is a very windy city, especially this time of year. But anyway, this is an automated weather briefing. It also gives us information about the airport. I wanted to get the information. We have information Victor. We'll be saying that to the clearance delivery controller here in a moment. But actually, since I'm using custom weather on this simulator, we're just going to say we've got custom weather. So the clearance delivery frequency is 118.35, or I'm sorry, 128.35. So we'll tune to 128.35 on our radio. Palm Springs clearance Cessna 72129er at signature with custom weather with VFR request when ready.
Number 72129 Palm Springs clearance, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to catch VFR flight following to Montgomery, cruising at 10,500, and I'm a Cessna 172 slant Golf.
Skyx 72129er, departure frequency 126.7, squawk 1043.
Departure frequency 126.7, squawk 1043 for 72129er.
Skyx 129er, read back correct, contact ground taxi.
129er. Okay.
Henderson Tower, Pilatus 9875, 51 southwest with
0, 4, 3 in the box here. That's our unique identification code.
Runner 875, Henderson Tower. Enter right.
477. I just want to set the altimeter here, make sure that that's ready to go. Everything else looks pretty good. Just checking the flight instruments here and making sure everything's set up correctly. Okay, I think we're good. I'll throw these back on. That's what's cool about this simulator. You can get rid of your flight yokes with a mouse click. Okay, so she said contact ground when ready. Ground is on 121.9. So we'll tune to 121.9. And then we'll ask her, we'll say Palm Springs ground, Cessna 72129ers at signature. Request taxi and abandoned from custom weather.
Skyx 72129er, Palm Springs ground, runway 31 left, taxi Whiskey Alpha.
31 left, taxi via Whiskey Alpha for 129er. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and execute our taxi. So, the parking brake. Brake checks. Looking good. She said Whiskey Alpha to 31 left. Which I think somewhere back here. In any case, I can bring up a map. I'm getting the M key here. Kind of cheating. But hey, it's not really cheating. A lot of pilots carry maps with them. So, this is just our software map. Okay, just making sure that that's not a runway thing. Should be. It's just the demarcation of the actual taxiway. Alright. So you're already noticing some of the scenery here. This is actually using ortho for XP scenery, which is a fancy word for me downloading actual satellite aircraft imagery of the ground for this particular simulation. Now, normally at this point, I would do what's called a run-up test in this aircraft. I am not going to do that today in this simulation. I'm just going to pull over to the side here and just make sure I have most of my instruments all set up and ready to go, but I'm not going to do a full-blown run-up.
John Wayne Tower, 30 Bravo is established on right base for 20 right.
Alright, we're pointed into the...
Bravo, runway 20 right, clear to land, wind 2104.
We're pointed...
Clear to land, 20 right, 330 Bravo.
We're pointed at the wind. Get our departure frequency. We'll get our tower going here. Tower's at 119.7. Well, there's not much wind today at all because I've got custom weather. And then I also want departure. She said 126.7. Not exactly sure if that's a right frequency to use. According to the charts, it should be at 135.275 for my altitude. I think. I could be wrong though. But we'll go with what she said. 126.7. Ah. 126.7's in the backup. Alright. I am also going to...
taxi to park at the Alpha maintenance frequency today.
I'm going to use this Julian VOR as navigation. So I got nav 1 tuned to Julian, already picking it up, it looks like. What radio? Okay, let's see what radio. Probably I'm over here, and this all will probably make no sense to you guys if you don't know what I'm doing. Trust me, it's just a way to navigate. I'll probably fly just left of, just west of this 0-degree mark. So let's go ahead and set that OBS. Actually, we want to set that at the bottom here, so we get the. Oops, wrong one. I was wondering why those flags were showing up. Okay, so we want to be. That looks. Right there? That's fine. Something like that. Alright. Anything else? We want some lights. Let me turn this off again. Let's get the taxiway off. Let's get the strobes on. Do we want the landing lights on? It's a pretty bright day. I think it'd be a waste of lighting, so we won't turn that on. The rest of the stuff I can take care of up in the air. So I think we're good. So let's go ahead and call up the tower and tell them we're ready for takeoff. We are holding short, runway 31 left on Alpha. Alright. Palm Springs Tower, Cessna 72129ers, holding short of runway 31 left at Alpha, ready for takeoff.
Skyx 7212 Niner Palm Springs Tower on course approved. Wind 31018, gust 26, runway 31 left, ready for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff, runway 31 left, 129er. Okay, we are cleared for takeoff.
John Wayne Tower, Piper 330 Bravo is clear of the active.
So I'm just checking to see whether there's any traffic here. Doesn't appear to be anything. But it's hard to see with these high-wing aircraft, right? So.
Air 3 Bravo taxi, correction. Yeah, taxi to Bucket B,
We're
Bravo
good.
maintenance frequency, and it's a pass for the Cat 10. Good job.
Thank you so much. Taxi remain this frequency, 330 Bravo.
She gave us all that wind information, which was helpful if I was actually running real world weather, which I'm not. Alright, here we go. Mixture rich, full power. Gotta use a lot of right rudder to correct for tendency of it to go to the left. Got enough airspeed there, probably a little too much to rotate. Off we go. And this thing pops up. Palm Springs Tower, this is Cessna 72129. I just wanted to get a right downwind for departure.
Skype 129 gave you on course approved. Whenever controller gives you an on course approved, it's pilot's discretion how you want to report the pattern.
Ah, got it. Thanks for the information. 129.
No problem. And Cessna 129 contact Soka departure. Have a great flight. See ya.
Going to departure, 129. Alright, she gave me an on-course departure, which means that I can proceed on course. Hence the term. SoCal departure, Cessna 72129er, climbing 10,000 to 10,500.
So 72129 SoCal departure radar contact.
Wow, someone else. And sorry if you're getting a headache watching me turn my head. I'm definitely a bobblehead when it comes to flying an airplane. Just look out all the way, all over the place. But I promise it will calm down once we get to cruise. We're probably going to go over You can't see me pointing, but you can kind of see it there. There's like a kind of a dip in the mountain range right there. Head towards that and hope that we gain enough altitude to make that possible. Shouldn't be an issue. Kind of a hazy day today, but actually that's not all too unrealistic for Southern California. So out there in the distance is actually Indio and Coachella Valley, where the big Coachella music festivals happen every year. And then beneath us is Palm Springs. I think that big road there is the I-10. Alright, we're at 5,000. He's going to likely give us a handoff to LA Center. Not too long from now. So here off our right wingtip, you'll notice, I think, it's Idlewild, which is a beautiful, like park-like area. We can take an aerial tramway up, and I really had a blast kind of going up there, checking out the views. You're up at around 8,500 feet, and it's just fantastic. It's right there, right off our right wingtip. It's pretty cool. So this is a much more pleasant flight today without the turbulence that I experienced in the real world. Maybe you'll be able to see it, but out there in the distance there is a massive wind farm. Can't really see much of it in this simulator. But because of the very consistent high winds here in this valley, it's a perfect area for windmill farms. We're definitely taking advantage of it. Alright, 6,500, 4,000 feet away from our top altitude. It's actually a really quiet day on the frequency. I don't think there's a whole lot of people flying today. It is a Saturday night. People are probably out and about, like me. No life guy flying a simulator. But you know what? I love it. Look at this. Beautiful scenery. I can tell you right now, I've flown this thing in real life. This is really as real as it gets. I think that's the slogan for X-Plane's competitor. but it's true in this case. This is as real as it gets. Alright, 7,500. Now if you'll notice, I'm going to use my cursor here, you'll notice this thing is lined up. That means I'm heading straight for the VOR. Yeah, pretty much heading the right heading as well. So unless there's winds, which I have intentionally removed from the simulation, should be more or less on a straight and narrow heading towards the Julian VOR, which is basically a radio beacon transmitting in all directions where it is, how to get to it. It was the system that was used in place extensively for aviation aircraft prior to the introduction of GPS. However, it's still it's still used quite a bit, especially as a backup to GPS. I'm glad we have it. I'm going to start leaning out this engine, looking for an RPM drop. Right there we see one. Go past that. This is a fairly new Cessna. There's no carburetor. It's fuel injected. Makes things a little easier to fly. A little bit of a, you call that a mesa? Top of a mountain. Flattens out like that. Some roads too. I think they're dirt roads. There's some kind of something going on there. Not sure what though. Wild California West. We're doing about 75 knots, which is a pretty good climb rate. Or airspeed rather, for a climb. Climb rate's around 500 feet per minute. Which probably isn't that bad given our altitude is almost 10,000 feet. So they've also made a number of updates here to this version of X-Plane that supposedly has increased the performance, also known as frame rate. And you know what? I think I see a little bit of a boost here in performance. Pleased to see that. Alright, coming up here on our max altitudes, was of course correct to also lower my nose here in a second. Trim the aircraft for 10,500. Trimming the aircraft in real life is a lot easier than in this simulator. Trust me. But that's a good thing. I've also got an autopilot here, which I probably could just set and forget about it. Forget about it. So I haven't heard from the air traffic controller yet. You should technically be talking to LA Center by now, I think. At least that's what happened when I was flying the real world. Now, granted, things are not always the same every single time. Even in the real world. Wow, look at that scenery. Off there.
129 Los Angeles Center, 128.6 to you.
128.6, 129. There he is. 128.6. LA Center, Cessna 72129 or 11, 10,500.
So 72129 Los Angeles Center, altimeter 2963.
2963 for 129. I am using custom weather, so I'm not going to muck with the altimeter. Okay, this is the boring part of flying. Well, one interesting observation you'll see here already is that here on the right side, it's fairly green. Well, it's not that green, but it's greenish. But here on the left side, it's not even close to being green. Very quickly, almost instantaneously, in fact, the landscape changes from a fairly greenish setting to barren wasteland. It's kind of an interesting effect. Obviously, there's a lack of water here on the left side of the plane here, but it's pretty interesting to see how that translates to a lack of life. Very quickly. All right, according to my GPS, we are 18.43 miles from Julian, VOR. It's in fact showing up on my GPS now. I'm going to pretend I don't have it on my GPS and just fly via the VOR. Once I get to the Julian VOR, Got my handy dandy VFR charts here. There is a valley that I have to find, then follow toward San Diego. Canyon of the Crescent Moon. Probably don't know what that is unless you watched the images. Great movie, by the way. Highly recommend. Alright, just a little over 15 nautical miles out. So VORs tend to get more sensitive the closer you get to it. So it's easy to sort of zigzag your way around a VOR radio as you approach it. A good pilot will limit the amount of zigzag. So we'll try to do that. One way to do that is just once it's lined up, fly the correct heading. So the VOR is dialed up at around, let's make it an even. Oops. Come on. 175. So we'll fly 175. That should minimize once it lines up. We'll fly 175. So a little bit to the left. So you might be asking, does this all look the same as when you flew in real life? And it's pretty close. I mean, obviously it's not exact. I think this imagery is a little bit dated because it's way drier than it is right now. We have had a decent amount of rainfall in San Diego area this year, and so it's a little greener now than it is in this ortho scenery. But not far off at all. This is very, very close to what I was looking at. Colors are a bit washed out as well, possibly because of the haze. Actually, that's most likely what's the issue here. It's not actually the scenery itself, it's more of X-plane simulating haze and how haze washes out colors, so that's actually a good thing. That lake that you're seeing out there that I'm pointing my head at was definitely there while I was flying. Glad it's there in the simulator. It's a great reference point. So I'm continuing to zigzag a little bit, but that's okay. We're more or less heading directly to Julian VOR. On a leisurely VFR flight like this, you have to be huge sticklers with precision. It's good to be accurate, but don't have to stress over it too much. You can see here that more or less lines us up with the Julian VOR, line 175. So if I stick with this heading, I should fly right over VOR in less than 9 miles. I forgot the name of that lake. Say anything on my charts. Sorry, you're staring at the back of the seat of the plane. I'm actually looking at the charts. No idea. Alright, we're almost at Julian VOR. Julian Bakery, somewhere around here. If you haven't heard of Julian Bakery, it's a fantastic bakery. They make a lot of incredible baked goods, including actually, I believe, a line of paleo-friendly breads. I know I'm trying to eat a little bit more healthy, and trying to reduce the carbs and grains. It's hard to do, especially because carbs and grains taste so good, so ubiquitous. But Julian makes a line of grain-free bread. I've tried it. Definitely doesn't taste like bread. But I suppose it's not a bad alternate for something that's not actually bread. Man, it is dead out there in terms of air traffic. I was hoping that by flying Pilotedge tonight and recording this video, you'd be able to hear a lot of chitter-chatter from other pilots navigating through the friendly skies, but I apologize. Tonight is a dead night. What time is it? It's 10:34, so I better be on the ground in the next 26 minutes. I suppose that's impossible. I'm terribly far off. So the one thing we don't want to do is fly through the Bravo airspace without a clearance. So we definitely need to get under 4,800 feet. Bravo airspace is part of special set of the special airspace over the San Diego International and Miramar military base. We don't want to fly inside of that section of airspace without permission. So we will start a descent.
So 129 SoCal approach, 1.6.
Going to 119 or 0.6 for 129er. 119.6. SoCal approach Cessna 72129ers at 10,400 executing a VFR descent.
72129er SoCal approach, number got altimeter 29er 89er.
29er 89er for 129. That's the valley I was talking about. So I'm going to descend into that valley. So I'm actually having a tough time today even communicating to air traffic control. Something I definitely need to work on. Not as smooth and as snappy as I'd like to be. Essentially, I wanted to tell him that, hey, I am descending. I'm not going to be at 10,400, 500, whatever I said, for long. And I didn't say this, but the reason why I'm descending is because I'm coming close to my destination. So I want to make sure I'm not super high as I approach the airport. We basically want to be at 4,500 feet before there's a kind of a lake-like, amoeba-like lake, which you can kind of see up there ahead of the valley. As we pass that amoeba-like lake, we want to be getting close to 5,000 feet. So we'll make our way to 4,500. Here on the GPS, we have a little bit of a cheat sheet. You can see the Bravo airspace lines. It doesn't tell us the altitude, of course, of those lines. So, in theory, you could actually be inside of those lines and not actually be in the Bravo airspace, because the Bravo airspace kind of tends to form a upside-down wedding cake. So we will actually be inside of the lines, but we underneath the Bravo airspace. So technically, still will not be in. Of course, if they give us a clearance to go through it, we'll be fine. So right about now, I'm going to listen to ATIS for Montgomery, which is on 126.9. Sorry. So I can get the current weather. And of course, it's saying wind calm, visibility more than 10, sky conditions 19,500 scattered. I'm running custom weather, so the weather probably doesn't even matter at this point. But it is part of my process and the procedures for flying into Montgomery. There's that amoeba-like lake dead ahead. Call it amoeba shaped because on the map it looks like an amoeba. Whatever the hell an amoeba looks like. So in real life, actually, SoCal will, more often than not, clear you through the Bravo. However, I have noticed that on Pilotedge, the controllers are reluctant to clear you through the Bravo unless you specifically ask for it. Which I actually think is personally better as a training aid, because it makes you pay attention to the Bravo. Whereas if you were just blanket given clearances every single time, you might just get a little sloppy with paying attention to where you are with respect to the Bravo airspace. So kudos to the Pilotedge controllers for Pilotedge system for being harder than air traffic control, right? I actually think that Pilotedge should be harder than the real world, because that way when you get into the cockpit and fly in the real world, it's not so bad. It's actually easier. Okay, Ramona should be somewhere off our right wing here. It's able to readily detect it when I flew. But not as easy for me to tell. Let's see there. Okay, we're still a bit high, but I don't want to go too much lower because we're not that far from the ground. So we'll try to stay up right around here, just at 5,000 feet, until we bend around this mountain and then descend rapidly to 4,500. By the way, all of these terrain features are pretty much identical to what's in the real world. It's pretty awesome. Once we bend around this mountain, we'll be flying over Gillespie Airfield, past Cowles Mountain, and we'll be pretty much at Montgomery. Might even decide, might even tune up Montgomery at this point. 19.2. Alright, so we're under the 4,800 altitude of the Bravo, so we should be able to we can pass that line that you're seeing on the GPS without any problems. I don't want to hit that corner though. I don't know what that corner looks like. It's 30 now, so definitely don't want to hit that corner. So let's skittle on over here to the left. So avoid that.
Just 129, remain outside Gillespie airspace.
Remain outside of Gillespie airspace, 129. Gillespie airspace is at 2,400 feet, so we'll be well outside of it. Stay at 4,500. Actually, we'll continue going down. We just need to be above 2,400. Stick around 4,500 for now. So right over here, I'll use my pointer, is Cowles Mountain. Somewhere one of those things is Cowles Mountain. We're going to bend around it. Once we bend around it, we should be able to see Montgomery.
Just 172 traffic, 12 o'clock, 2 miles. Same direction on 30K 3,200 typing up.
Looking for that traffic, 129er. 12 o'clock, same direction. And X-Plane does a great job of 3D buildings everywhere. It's awesome.
There's 129er contact Belgrade Tower, 119.2, yeah.
Go to the tower, thanks, 129er. Montgomery Tower, Cessna 72129, just south of Gillespie, inbound to land, and I've got customer.
Sky 72129, Montgomery Tower, straight around 29, pressure 2, right, at land, wind 3305.
Straight in for runway 28, right, clear to land, 129er. Right. (2,800 feet), 2,400 Gillespie. I'm going to assume that instruction to stay out of them still holds, but we should be past them once we're past this Cowles Mountain range, so hold my altitude. You can kind of see Miramar way out there. I already see Montgomery. 28 right coming up. We're almost on a long final. You can see downtown way out there. Buildings look semi-transparent. There's downtown. Coronado, North Island, Point Loma, all visible. La Jolla's up ahead. Some flaps going. 10:55, 5 minutes. They're closing up shop here, so hopefully I touch down by then. Some more flaps. Slows down a little more. Okay, just above 70. If we can. We're a bit high, I think, according to my VASI lights. Hold on a little power. Runs. Let's go and get all our flaps in. Get down to 60. Or above 60. Qualcomm Stadium. Right there. And it doesn't look like a stadium. Still lots of white there on the VASI lights. Oh, there we go. There's some red. Alright, we are in San Diego. Taxiway Golf. Alright. Ground is on 118.22. I'll stay with the tower. Head across the runway. Montgomery Tower, Cessna 72129 are clear of runway 28 right on Golf. I'd like to taxi back to Gibbs.
Skype 72129 taxi at Gibbs via Golf Hotel Juliet. Cross runway 28 left at Golf. Have a great night.
Cross runway 28 left via Golf, and then we'll taxi back to Gibbs via Golf Hotel and Juliet. Thanks for the help today. Good night.
Pleasure.
Right here, which is theoretically where Gibbs should be, but is instead represented by this random warehouse. Alright, we have arrived, so let us go ahead and turn some of these lights off. Could have turned some of these off earlier, but that's fine. Better late than never. Go on standby. Should have done that on the taxiway as well. Change this to be just for laughs, and everything else looks okay. Let's go ahead and go back. Turn the parking brake on, avionics off, and keys. Math. All right, thanks everyone for joining me on this flight. Hopefully it was informative and useful and enjoyable, of course, to watch as well. Hopefully I'll be making more of these movies in the future. If you have any special requests, of course, write it in the comments and I will take a look and maybe do a video on some of your guys' suggestions. Alright, until next time, take care.